talking to Eddie Hearn recently about this matchup with Jake Paul, and he was saying about the Daniel Dubois defeat, and that potentially it was more painful than people may have anticipated or imagined. Is taking a fight with Jake Paul trying to find that fun again and that enjoyment again?
Nah, boxing is not such a fun sport. You can't play boxing, so it's not so fun if I'm honest. But
what happens when belief collides with physics and confidence steps into a ring built for consequences? This isn't a question of hype or personalities. It's a test of limits. One fighter brings years of heavyweight punishment and survival. The other brings ambition, momentum, and absolute certainty. Strip away the noise, and what's left is something far more unsettling. Because when the bell rings, reality doesn't negotiate, and not everyone walks out the same.
But there's nothing in the contract. AJ can attest to it. We're going to war, and that's the end of the day that all my fights have been like.
Tyron, you've been knocked out by Jake. You first, Tyron. Is Jake capable of beating Anthony Joshua?
Well, that's one hell of a way to start a question, though.
Yeah, jeez, Garrett.
I landed a lot of punches, too.
Joshua's warning to Jake Paul has been described as chilling, not because of what was said, but because of who it came from and what history stands behind it. A former unified heavyweight champion, Olympic gold medalist, a fighter who has lived at the highest end of boxing's risk spectrum for more than a decade.
Actually, there's this narrative about like, oh, if Jake does well, then this whole thing's scripted, and obviously Jake's going to take offense to that, but I feel like you should probably take offense to that, because the people who are suggesting that are kind of questioning your integrity and suggesting your pride's up for sale. Do you think the people who are suggesting that underestimate who you are and your values as a fighter?
I'm not too sure. You know, my mind's not even there, but it's a great question. That's the whole point of this fight. It creates conversation, barbershop conversations, taxi conversations, aeroplane conversations, and that's what we want. The more people talking about the fight, regardless of what it is that they're talking about, is a massive bonus. So for me, I'm not too...
When that kind of figure speaks cautiously about danger, the sport listens. Across the boxing world, the idea of Joshua facing Jake Paul has triggered a rare alignment of concern. Promoters, trainers, former champions, and medical voices are not debating tactics first. They are debating whether this should happen at all. The reason is simple. Boxing is unforgiving of mismatches, especially at heavyweight.
I'm looking forward to competition, I'm looking forward to competing, I'm looking forward to having that kind of Michael Jordan energy. I watched The Last Dance on the plane out here. That guy, yeah, just put me in that zone where it's just like, yeah, you got to compete. And I'm just looking forward. I think he went and said he's the Iverson of the league. Am I wrong?
White Iverson.
The white Iverson of the league. And this is Jordan versus Iverson in boxing. I can't wait to compete, show my skill set. Yeah, man, it's going to be good.
I just have a quick follow-up.
Joshua is not entering this conversation as an undefeated force. His recent knockout loss to Daniel Dubois is part of the context and cannot be separated from it. At 35, with mileage accumulated through championship rounds and elite opposition, questions exist about where he stands physically and mentally. But those questions do not erase the fundamentals: size, power, timing, experience. These are not theoretical advantages, they are structural ones.
It's my job. We fight. We're licensed to kill. I'm sure many people don't understand it, but this is what my job is. And I just enjoy what I do. Whatever happens, happens. As long as my hand's raised, that's what's important, right? Respectfully. That's just the mentality we have to have as fighters. I don't know if any other fighter thinks that way. Maybe they're a bit more tamed. But the things I watch and the way my mind works, when you're in that ring, it's a dangerous place to be and anything can happen. And you hope your opponent leaves the ring.
Joshua's camp has been careful with language. No bravado, no insults. The emphasis has been on risk, on the reality that a clean punch from a heavyweight like Joshua carries consequences that cannot be rehearsed away. This is not sparring. This is not controlled. It is a sanctioned environment where momentum, fear, and instinct collide. Jake Paul approaches the moment from a very different trajectory. His rise has not followed the traditional route. No long amateur apprenticeship, no slow climb through domestic titles. Instead, a hybrid path built on visibility, promotion, and selective opposition. Even in decline, those attributes do not disappear. They remain latent, waiting for an opening. Critics of the matchup describe Paul as a domestic-level fighter operating on a global commercial scale. The term is not meant as an insult. It is a classification. Domestic-level fighters exist in every era. They are professionals, disciplined, capable, but not built to withstand the upper tier. The leap from that level to a former heavyweight champion is not incremental. It is exponential.
I've never gone in there and knocked someone out within 10 seconds. There's a methodical process to knocking someone out. But if the opportunity presents itself, I'm not planning on carrying Jake for 1 second more than I have to. The job we do, knockouts is like the cherry on top. I understand that. And I do like to deliver that. And I think that's what's always made me an exciting fighter to watch, is that I carry power in both hands. So yeah, I believe I'll be able to deliver what the fans expect.
Some observers go further, arguing that sanctioning such a fight risks normalizing danger under the cover of entertainment. Boxing already lives with inherent risk. That risk is justified when competition is fair. When it is not, the moral ground becomes unstable. Joshua, meanwhile, exists in a no-win scenario. If he dominates quickly, the outcome will be dismissed as inevitable. If he struggles, the questions about his decline will grow louder. There is little glory available. One misjudgment, one lapse, one exchange taken lightly, and the narrative shifts permanently. He has been inactive. He is older. From Paul's perspective, this is not prime versus novice. It is opportunity meeting vulnerability. That belief is reinforced by Paul's defining trait, self-confidence pushed beyond conventional limits. It has carried him far. It has allowed him to bypass years of gatekeeping. But boxing has a way of correcting overreach without warning.
No fear, because I have faith in God putting me into this moment for a reason.
You see with Jake, what I learned about Jake is someone where I got to beat him mentally because he's a mental person. This is my observation. A lot of what Jake's preparation is based around is not only the physical aspects of training, but the way he thinks, meditation, breath work. If I can break his soul and I can break his mentality, then I've broken Jake. This is why it's going to be an interesting fight, because I just don't look at it from a physical standpoint. I know the person that's in front of me, and I know that I got to break it. That's why I said I got to take his soul.
Analysts who approach the fight with curiosity rather than outrage point to the unknowns. Joshua's response to pressure after defeat, his ability to reset after time away, the psychological residue of recent losses. These are real factors. Fighters do not exist in a vacuum. At the same time, those same analysts caution against overinterpreting decline. Joshua's loss to Dubois came after absorbing a shot that would have troubled almost any heavyweight. His recovery showed resilience, even if the outcome was final. Decline is rarely linear. Training footage shows Joshua focused on fundamentals, balance, distance, defensive responsibility. There is no sense of him preparing for a novelty. The approach appears professional, measured, and serious. Streaming rights, global interest, crossover appeal. This is not a typical boxing event. It is a convergence of industries. That reality complicates judgment. When figures reach this scale, resistance weakens. Promoters acknowledge the discomfort while acknowledging the demand. Fighters acknowledge the danger while acknowledging the opportunity. This is how boxing has always operated at its edges.
What's your legacy? In the event, God forbid you lose this fight, what is the impact? What do you believe?
Come back again, shake it off. I'll be headlining again in a year or two. It's what it is. It's just, I'm a player in the game. You take some L's. Well, without the L's, you wouldn't be here, innit? Take some W's, dust it off, and then when I'm ready to hang up my gloves, I hang up my gloves, and everyone will say, yeah, you done well. You was a tough competitor. But it is what it is. I'm taking L's and I'm standing strong now. Honestly, bro, don't worry too much about all that stuff. Keep rolling the dice, keep giving your best, and that's all you can do.
Medical voices remain the most consistent in tone. They focus on mismatch, on cumulative trauma, on the unpredictability of heavyweight exchanges. One punch is not a metaphor here. It is a mechanism. As fight night approaches, the tension does not come from trash talk. It comes from silence, from the knowledge that once the bell rings, narratives collapse into action. Expectations mean little. Preparation becomes everything. If Joshua performs as expected, the fight will be brief and definitive. If he does not, the implications ripple outward, for his career, for the sport's credibility, for the boundaries between boxing and spectacle. If Paul exceeds expectations, the boxing world will be forced into a reckoning it has tried to delay. If he does not, the cost may be more than reputational. It forces regulators, promoters, and audiences to confront a familiar but uncomfortable question. When does possibility become irresponsibility? Jake Paul supporters frame the bout as evolution. They argue that every unconventional challenger in boxing history was once dismissed, that the sport resists outsiders by instinct, that confidence, preparation, and timing can level gaps that look unbridgeable on paper.
Specifically with Jake.
It was a great opportunity, a big fight, UK, or let's say Europe, combining with USA. It's a global event.
Do you think Jake Paul is good for boxing?
Yeah, I think he's good for boxing.
Does Jake Paul belong in the heavyweight conversation?
Jake Paul's doing what he wants. He belongs in the cruiserweight conversation and the heavyweight conversation.
Is Jake Paul underestimated by other fighters?
I think Jake Paul's underestimated by other fighters because they look at him as what he was before, a boxer, which was a YouTuber. Right now, he's focusing on fighting.
In that reading, Paul is not ignoring the danger. He is embracing it as proof of seriousness. But those who have lived inside boxing's consequences see something else. They see weight classes that exist for reasons written in blood. They see careers shortened not by lack of heart, but by structural mismatch. They see a heavyweight division where even glancing blows can change lives permanently. Anthony Joshua's physicality remains the central axis of the debate. Even diminished versions of elite heavyweights possess weapons that do not erode with time. Punching power does not fade the way reflexes do. Size does not shrink under pressure. And experience, especially at heavyweight, compounds rather than evaporates. Joshua has spent years calibrating distance against fighters who can punch back with equal force. He understands how to set traps, how to disguise rhythm. This is why some analysts frame the fight less as competition and more as exposure. Exposure to a level of violence that training cannot replicate. Exposure to reactions that no amount of pad work prepares you for. Exposure to fear when fear is justified.
Jake Paul is not afraid to say I'm going to get knocked out, so not afraid to say he's going to get knocked out. I'm kidding. Jake Paul has a really good footwork, I believe, for a guy of his weight class. And this is where Anthony Joshua kind of lacks. If Jake moves around like he knows how to do, it could go to the distance. But like I said, Anthony Joshua is very big. And when you fight someone heavier than you, I've sparred heavier girls, it's very hard on your body. When you clinch, they put all their weights on you, and when you punch them, they don't go back. They stay there.
Joshua's recent losses complicate the picture, but do not invert it. Fighters lose, even great ones. What matters is how they process defeat. For Joshua, the question is whether setbacks have refined his approach or eroded his confidence. Those closest to him suggest the former. They point to discipline, to restraint, to a renewed emphasis on fundamentals. There is also the matter of motivation. Financial incentive is obvious, but it is rarely sufficient on its own at this level. Fighters sense when they are being asked to participate in something unserious. Joshua's camp insists this is not the case. That preparation reflects respect for the danger on both sides. Still, skepticism remains. Some believe this fight signals a pivot away from championship ambition, that Joshua, consciously or not, is transitioning into the final phase of a career defined by calculated exits rather than unfinished pursuits. That calculus explains his willingness to proceed despite warnings. It also explains why some view this as the most dangerous fight of his career by a wide margin, not because of malice, because of misalignment. Observers who sit on the fence acknowledge the intrigue. Boxing is fueled by unknowns. Joshua's long layoff, Paul's improvement curve, the psychological dynamics of expectation. These variables create space for speculation, but speculation is not probability.
This fight lasts longer than 3 rounds. 3 rounds. It's fake and it's scripted. And I think Jake Paul should be getting in legal trouble for hoaxing another boxing professional fight with another big heavyweight if this goes 3 rounds, because there's no way that Anthony Joshua should let Jake Paul hang around longer than 3 rounds. I mean, other than Jake Paul having a lucky puncher's chance, there's no clear path to victory. You mean to tell me that Jake Paul and his professional fight has a chance to outpoint Anthony Joshua, that's a former Olympic gold medalist, a former unified heavyweight champion, been around the block and fought some of the best heavyweights of this era.
When trainers speak privately, they tend to return to fundamentals: stance, guard, recovery, weight transfer. These are areas where Paul has improved but remains raw. Against most opponents, that rawness has been survivable. Against a heavyweight who knows how to exploit it, survival becomes the goal rather than victory. Medical professionals emphasize cumulative risk, not just knockout scenarios, but the accumulation of heavy shots absorbed in short time frames. Heavyweights generate forces that the human brain struggles to tolerate repeatedly. Conditioning does not protect against that. Only avoidance does. The sanctioning question looms quietly in the background. The danger speaks for itself. Joshua's training footage continues to show composure, no wasted motion, no visible strain. The sessions appear methodical, almost understated. This is not a man preparing for chaos. It is a man preparing to impose order. Paul's footage, meanwhile, emphasizes intensity, fast combinations, explosive movements, confidence projected outward. The contrast is stark. One reflects accumulation, the other acceleration. Neither guarantees outcome.
I think Anthony Joshua will clip him and Jake Paul will go over and being able to make the count of 10. I think that's the happiest and safest result. I would hate to see Jake Paul get hurt. I don't want to see him get hurt. People say, he needs to get hurt so people can see boxing, this and that. I'd hate to see that.
You know, you got to prepare yourself for a tough fight. You can't just take this guy as a clown and just go in there and not do the work in the gym and not prepare your mind to go in and perform. And you can't have it both ways. On one hand, people are saying, oh yeah, is he taking it seriously? And then when he's taking it too seriously and talking about the dangers of the fight, but, oh really? So he's prepared for this fight like it's a world heavyweight title fight.
What complicates judgment further is boxing's history of surprises. Fighters written off returning with clarity. Outsiders landing singular moments that change everything. These examples fuel belief, but they are memorable precisely because they are rare. Most mismatches end quietly, quickly, with regret rather than revelation. The psychological burden on Joshua should not be underestimated. He carries expectation from both sides. Those who want him to restore order, those who want him exposed. Every second the fight lasts longer than predicted amplifies scrutiny. For Paul, pressure operates differently. Exceed expectations, and he wins regardless of result. Fall short dramatically, and the illusion collapses. The negotiation between sport and spectacle. The limits of belief. No one enters this ring unaware. Warnings have been issued. Stakes have been outlined. Consequences have been acknowledged. What remains is the act itself. In boxing, answers arrive without commentary. They arrive through impact, through reaction, through aftermath. Whatever happens between Joshua and Paul will echo beyond the result. It will inform future decisions, future matchups, future boundaries. Until then, there is only anticipation shaped by caution, not excitement, not dismissal, just the heavy silence before something irreversible.